5. V1302 John Mann. According to a recent study that's being conducted by Belgium, an 80-year-old Nazi patrol boat that sank in the North Sea in 1942 is still leaking harmful chemicals. Based on their reports, the historic Nazi shipwreck experienced harmful chemical leaks that had an impact on marine sediments, as well as the nearby aquatic ecosystem. Scientists are worried about the environmental consequences, but there is still a glimpse of hope. New research from the study confirms that the sunken boat is still contaminating the seafloor, and as a result, it's changing the surrounding geochemistry and microbiology. However, there are indications that marine life is adjusting to the toxic chemicals, which includes explosives, heavy metals, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, from the ship's fuel. Scientists believe that it's also likely that this applies to other wartime disasters as well. On October 18, 2022, a new paper was published in the Frontiers in Marine Science journal that describes the recently discovered Nazi shipwreck in the North Sea. It highlights how historic naval wrecks create man-made landmarks in the underwater environment. Unfortunately, it's still not known what kind of impact these shipwrecks have on local microorganisms and the surrounding geochemistry. To address this issue, researchers collected samples from the World War II-era V1302 John Mann shipwreck, which is located 115 feet, or 35 meters, off the coast of Belgium. By testing the sediment and steel hull from the ship, they discovered that the wreckage is still influencing the marine ecosystem. The research team found evidence that marine life has adapted to the capsized wreck, and that certain microorganisms are still consuming the ship's metallic remains. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, there are an estimated 2.5 million shipwrecks from World War I and II, weighing roughly 20.4 million metric tons, 20.4 billion kilograms of petroleum products. The hundreds of wartime shipwrecks in the North Sea, located between the British Isles and mainland Europe, may also be affected by this chemical and geological phenomenon. Martin de Reyck from the Flanders Marine Institute in Belgium explained to Live Science that they decided to study the Nazi V1302 John Mann because of its position in the North Sea. He said that the wreck is located at an easily accessible depth, it's far away from shipping lines, and it gives just enough hydrological conditions for them to conduct research. 4. Blue-ringed octopus. The timid blue-ringed octopus may seem adorable to some people, but it's one of the ocean's deadliest animals. When this tiny bottom dweller is born, it's only the size of a pea. As the creature ages, it doesn't grow much bigger, maxing out at around 20 centimeters or 8 inches, roughly the same size as a golf ball. The lifespan of this species is about 2 to 3 years, but over the course of its short existence, it develops into a very dangerous ocean creature. The luminous blue rings that cover the body of this small octopus make it easy to identify. Thankfully, unless you're swimming in the tidal regions from Australia to Japan, you won't have to worry about running into one. However, if you do come into contact with a blue-ringed octopus, try not to agitate it. The saliva from these creatures can be extremely deadly and contains 2 different forms of venom. One of the toxins is used as a defense mechanism, while the other is used as a means of killing its prey, which is mostly made up of tiny crustaceans. Once they've poisoned their victim, they wait until the venom has spread throughout its entire body before consuming it. Even though these little octopi only reach a maximum length of 8 inches, 20 centimeters, their venom is incredibly potent, and there's no known cure. The peculiar neurotoxicity of the small marine animal is at least 1,200 times more lethal than cyanide, and contains dopamine as well as tetrodotoxin, an extremely poisonous compound. The venom from one of these creatures is deadly enough to kill 26 full-grown adult humans in just 5 minutes. A bite can cause eye abnormalities, nausea, trouble speaking, difficulty eating and breathing, and will almost certainly end in death. As dangerous as these octopi are, they pose an even greater danger to themselves. They are what biologists refer to as semalparous creatures. which means they only have one offspring before passing away. Many experts think that in order to prevent cannibalism of their offspring, these animals are biologically programmed to die after mating. 3. 2,000-year-old skeleton. One of the biggest and most mysterious shipwrecks in history is located off the shore of Antikythera, a remote Greek island in the Mediterranean. However, it seems as though the sea may finally be ready to reveal the secrets it's kept hidden beneath the water. A group of international archaeologists from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, WHOI, and the Hellenic Ministry of Culture has discovered a partial skeleton of a man thought to be in his early 20s. They recovered the remains from its watery gravesite at a depth of about 165 feet, 50 meters below the surface. Researchers believe the skeleton may provide insight into the circumstances that caused the ship to sink over 2,000 years ago. The team of archaeologists discovered the skeleton on their first dive. After reaching the bottom of the seafloor, they wiped away sediment from the ship and uncovered long bones, and eventually the skull. In total, the excavations produced 2 femurs, 2 arm bones, several rib pieces, and a partial skull with the jaw and 3 teeth still attached to it. The bones were located during the team's second excursion of the season on August 31, 2016. The team was already full of excitement following their successful excavation in May of that year, when the crew returned with stunning finds including a bronze spear, gold jewelry, and glassware. They weren't expecting their second dive to be so rewarding, but they were pleasantly surprised by their findings. Marine archaeologist Brendan Foley with WHOI lovingly refers to the remains as Pamphilos, a Greek term meaning friend to everyone. The name is derived from a drinking vessel that Jacques Cousteau, a renowned underwater explorer, discovered in 1976, with the same term inscribed across the rim. The recently discovered skeletal remains were carefully removed and brought back to the surface, where Hans Schroeder, a specialist in ancient DNA from the Natural History Museum of Denmark, had been called in to see if there was any potential for DNA extraction. Schroeder believes that if viable DNA is found, it may provide some of the answers archaeologists are trying to determine regarding the ship and its sinking. Given that they know so little about the crew, the journey, or the kind of individuals that were on board, they may examine the individual's genetic ancestry. Results from this test could provide them with information about their roots and would offer them insight into the passengers of the ship that traveled and traded throughout the Mediterranean 2,000 years ago. 2. Las Cruces de Malpais. 40 rock-hewn crosses can be found at a depth of 65 feet, 20 meters below the pristine blue waters of the Canary Islands. Each cross is perched on a sand and rock pedestal, which provides a mournful reminder of the 40 Jesuit victims that were tortured and thrown into the sea by privateers. In the year 1570, there were 2 priests, 23 novices, 8 collaborators, and 7 students traveling from Lisbon to Brazil on 7 different ships, 3 of which were transporting the Jesuits. All of the future martyrs were young when the journey began, ranging in age from 15 to 30 years old. Out of the 100 people on board the vessels, 32 of them were Portuguese, and 8 of them were Spaniards. Surprisingly, one of the passengers happened to be the nephew of Saint Teresa of Avila. The expedition was led by Father Ignacio de Azevedo, the Portuguese-born Jesuit provincial of the Portuguese mission in Brazil. He had returned to Portugal in order to recruit missionaries. One of the 7 ships was required to transport cargo from Madeira Island to the coast of North Africa. However, they stopped in the Canary Islands before continuing on with their journey. Father Ignacio was aware that French Huguenot Calvinist corsairs were known to be present in the region, so he understood that they may have been sailing directly into martyrdom. He asked his crew if they were ready, and 4 of his shipmates asked to leave the boat, who were promptly replaced by 4 others. They were able to participate in the Eucharist celebration at Our Lady of Sorrows Hermitage after landing in Tazacorte. But according to folklore, Father Ignacio had a vision of his magnificent martyrdom during what would be his final mass on the island as he drank the precious blood. He was so moved by what he saw that he bit the chalice, leaving an impression of his teeth on it. The chalice is still considered an important artifact and can be found at the parish of St. Michael the Archangel, located in Tazacorte. Father Ignacio had been tasked by the Pope to carry relics to Brazil, but given their approaching demise, they were abandoned in Tazacorte. However, he kept with him a small picture of Our Lady that was given to him by the Pope himself. As the missionaries continued on their route, the ship carrying the Jesuits was attacked by the corsairs. Father Ignacio urged his young colleagues to dedicate their lives to Christ while holding the picture of Our Lady in his hands. Unfortunately, many of the missionaries were stabbed to death and cast into the water, but others were tossed into the sea while they were still alive. Father Ignacio was pierced by a sword and then stabbed twice more while still clutching the picture of Our Lady. Just before his death, he advised his companions not to be scared and stated, "I die for the Holy Catholic Church and what she teaches." These unfortunate souls are now often referred to as the Martyrs of Tazacorte, or the Martyrs of Brazil, since they were on their way to missions there. And in 1999, a monument was constructed at the scene of their martyrdom. The underwater memorial, which consists of 40 submerged stone crosses, was built with the help of many organizations, including the Council of La Palma. This site is now a favorite spot for divers and is a fantastic location for underwater photographers. 1. Mystery Structure. A strange circular structure that's longer and wider than a Boeing 747 airplane has been found submerged at a depth of 30 feet, or 9 meters beneath the surface of the Sea of Galilee in Israel. The discovery was made by accident when a team of scientists used sonar to explore the bottom of the lake in 2003. However, they didn't publish their findings until 2013. Shmuel Marco, a geophysicist from Tel Aviv University who collaborated on the project, recalled unintentionally bumping into the object. He explained that the lake's bottom is often extremely smooth, and they were shocked when they came across a sizable mound. At first, they didn't understand the significance of this, but after speaking with experts, they determined that the mound appeared to be an extremely massive Bronze Age statue. The structure they discovered consists of basalt rocks placed in a cone-shaped pattern. It's 32 feet, 10 meters tall, the length of the base measures 230 feet or 70 meters, and it weighs roughly 60,000 tons. 54,431,084 kilograms. Astonishingly, its size is double that of Stonehenge in England. The location and size of the structure suggested that it could have been built underwater as a kind of fish nursery. Archaeologists believe it was most likely constructed on dry land before it was submerged by the lake. At first, researchers had a difficult time trying to determine the exact age of the structure. However, after calculations were completed based on the 6 to 10 feet, 2 to 3 meters of sand that had accumulated over the bottom of the base, as well as the other structures in the area, they determined it to be between 2,000 and 12,000 years old. According to experts, sand accumulates at a rate of about 1 to 4 millimeters, 0.1 to 0.4 centimeters per year. Archaeologist Danny Nadel from the University of Haifa collaborated on the project and has participated in numerous prehistoric digs in the surrounding area. Based on his experience, he determined that the site shares similarities to community burial places, although he cautions researchers from drawing any definitive conclusions. Due to the sheer size of the structure, it's truly an unusual discovery. And while archaeologists are not exactly sure what the mound is, there are some theories in circulation that could help to explain the strange rock formation. One theory states that the site could have been a ramp that was utilized for an unknown purpose. Another idea is that the structure was used as a large ceremonial building. Once upon a time, there may have been statues placed on individuals in order to complete some type of strange ritual. However, nobody has been able to explain just how this ancient building was constructed. How long ago it was made, or what purpose it served. While there are several theories that exist, Nothing is known for certain, other than the fact that it's made of basalt rock and it's absolutely enormous. Which one of these deep-sea discoveries creeped you out the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.